Hi everyone, Jessica here from Paper Ink Stamp and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be using this Simon Says Stamp Thankful Flowers stamp set and some alcohol inks to hopefully create something really interesting. So to begin with, I'm going to create two panels using the alcohol ink and some yupo paper, and I'm going to make it so it's big enough where I can then stamp this full flower stamp from this Thankful Flowers stamp set. So for the alcohol inks, I'm only going to be using 3 shades today. So I've got citrus, dandelion and watermelon. So for this first piece, I'm just using the citrus green. So I've got this yupo paper, I've popped some drops down of that citrus alcohol ink, and I've added a bit of that blending solution as well, just to help move that colour around. So I want to create something really interesting. So with this first panel, I'm going to stamp my image and basically use it for the leaves section. So I'm creating backgrounds using this alcohol ink to create something really nice and vibrant and just something a little bit different. So you can see I'm just adding a little bit more of that alcohol ink. I'm using this hand blower. It's just an unbranded one from Amazon. So I didn't buy the actual branded sort of Ranger Tim Holtz one. I just picked up this cheapy one, but it seems to work really well to help move that colour around and give you some really great effects. So now for the second piece, I'm using the dandelion and the watermelon. So this yellow and red, of course, is going to mix together and make a really beautiful orange colour. So out of the few alcohol inks that I have purchased, I've mainly picked the primary colours so then I can make all the other colours. So you can see again that I'm just using that hand blower just to move it around, and you've got some really beautiful sections of the yellow still, you've got that really lovely orange and then some darker red pieces as well. So again, what I'm going to be doing is then stamping this big floral image on top of these alcohol inked backgrounds. I'm going to cut around it, and that's just then almost going to like paper piece our stamped image together. So hopefully you guys are going to follow it and think that it's as great as I do. The one thing I really loved about creating these alcohol ink backgrounds and using them for the backgrounds of my stamped image is that they were so vivid. I could have done this in lots of different ways using alcohol, the alcohol pens. I could have just done it with a bit of ink smushing with my ink pads, but I found that this stayed super vibrant. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stamp these images. So I've got the big main floral, and then on this piece I've got a couple of those extra leaf stamps as well. And I'm going to be stamping this in some black archival. So I'm not 100% sure the best way to actually stamp onto yupo paper and pieces where you've used alcohol inks. I know that you can get that lift ink which lifts the colour back out, but I wanted to have this as a a black outline in it image like you would normally. So I'm going to stamp it using this black archival ink, and then I am going to heat emboss it, but you have to be really, really careful because this yupo paper is synthetic. It's actually made of plastic. If you're not careful, you will melt this yupo paper. So you have to be super careful. I had to really pay attention to what I was doing and keep moving that heat gun. So I did have to stamp this quite a few times to get this really beautiful solid image, but I really, really love how this has come out. I think it's super beautiful, and all of those sort of different colours, all of that texture, all of that interest you get from using the alcohol inks, I think makes it look so much better. So now I'm going to do the same thing again with my second panel. So again, I'm going to stamp that same image. I'm going to swap out those additional leaf stamps for just some additional flower stamps. So I'm going to be able to just add a little bit more and create a much fuller image here. So I'm just repositioning this stamp. I want to make sure I get a really nice blend of the yellows and the orange and the reds and just have something that looks a lot more interesting. So again, I'm going to stamp this multiple times, and again it did take a couple of times to really add that colour, but that archival ink I found did work quite well. And again, like I said, then just adding those extra images on here just to give us a fuller image. So again, you can see how great that looks with that solid black image on top of this alcohol ink. And it does eventually stamp really, really nicely. But again, you could use then that lift ink as well and get sort of the reverse effect. But now I've cut all of these images out, so I don't have the coordinating die, so I have cut these by hand, and I have gone right up to that black edge. But you can see we've got our bottom piece Mainly we're going to be using this just to show the leaves and that green colour, that beautiful green colour for those leaves. And then I'm literally just going to pop these beautiful flowers on top of it. And it's almost like paper piecing, where we're not having to cut lots of individual elements to sort of build something. We're literally just going to pop one image on top of the other. And I'm using a combination of foam pads here just to add a bit of dimension, and then just some glue. So I did use wet glue for this. I wasn't sure how well sort of my tape runner would take to the yupo paper, but I'm really happy with how this has kind of come together. And again, I absolutely love just how vibrant this is. So that middle one is going to be propped up, and again, it's just going to give it some dimension and a little bit more interest. So for the card itself, I created a 5.5 by 4.25 inch card, and this is top folding. Then I also cut a piece of Misty grey cardstock by Craft Perfect. I cut this down to size and then ran this through a snowflakes embossing folder. This is by Cuttlebag. I'm guessing this is kind of old, but I thought it would add a nice bit of interest to the background of this card, so it didn't pull any focus from those really vibrant flowers. So I'm going to trim this down, and then I'm just going to use some of the Simon Says Stamp Big Mama foam tape to attach this onto my card. So next thing we do is then arrange the flowers onto the card. So I wanted to have it very central. Again, we've stamped those extra images just to make it bigger. So I'm going to just now arrange this exactly how I want it, and then I'm going to stick this down with some liquid glue. So with these additional flower images, I believe both of them are exactly the same as two of the flowers from the bigger stamp set. So you can then just stamp those separately like I've done here, and you could sort of decoupage this up. You could do a couple of layers if you wanted to, so you could create something really great with these images. And these flowers are so beautiful. You've got such a variety of closed ones, slightly open, obviously full open one then as well. So I just think it's a really great stamp set. So for the sentiment, I was looking for something really specific. So I found this Thinking of You in the Simply Cards and Papercraft Tranquil Tulips stamp set. So I'm going to stamp this using my stamping platform and some versafine onyx black ink. So now I do have to apologise because I have lost the end footage to this video, so I'm just going to walk you through what I did to finish this card off. So as you can see here, I did just then cut around that sentiment. I used some Flamingo Paradise ink from the Prism watercolour ink range, and just to outline that sentiment, because I thought it was a little bit stark white, it was almost a little bit boring. But then I used some of that Big Mama foam tape again to attach that to the card, just to add again a little bit of dimension. Then I did finish up with then some Nuvo drops, some in the bottle green and simply white colours, just to add a little bit of embellishment. I did then pair this with a handmade envelope from that same Misty grey cardstock that I used for that background, and this is then the card finish. So I really love how this has come out. Again, using those alcohol inks, I think have given something super vibrant. It has got a little bit of a shine to it, of course, from the yupo paper, but I think it's come out really great, and it just gives it a different look. It's stretching your stamp sets a lot further just by using them in a different way. So if you did like this card, then please give this video a thumbs up, and do look for some links in the description box down below for the products that I have used in today's video. So on screen now, there's a few other videos that you might be interested in, but be sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you get notified every time I post a new video. See you in the next video, and happy crafting!